Okay, give me just a second here. Okay. And skadoosh. Yeah. Ralph's taking over Shinju's bed for right now. Yes, you. Anyway, welcome this evening, and we are going to have another Patreon sculpt tonight. Yes, I managed to get back into them, now that I can actually broadcast. No. So anyway, tonight it's going to be a receptionist for the dungeon. That was a gesture. Anyway, for those of you who are watching after the fact, which is pretty much all of you right now, don't forget the whole like, subscribe, bell icon, and tonight, don't forget also, I still have my Epic Enemies Kickstarter going. Alright? What? Get a load of Ralph. Yeah. So wild. So feral. No, this video is not about my cat. This video is about sculpting miniatures, and go figure. And anyway, do you mind? So, it shouldn't be too much longer before my patron gets in here, and we'll get started. Yes. Get a load of him. He's so aloof and unaffectionate, like all cats supposedly are. Isn't that right? Anyway, no fuzz. I'm going to double check my message. And let's see if we get word back from him. And we still don't have our patron in here. And Ralph, do you mind? Ralph? So anyway, earlier today on Thingiverse, I released the next set for Thingiverse, which is, in this case, it's a set of pieces that I started sculpting on this show the other night. It's 3 heads, 4 sets of legs, and 4 of each arm. for the Green Tide, so you can make your orcs look properly piratey when, if you purchase the Epic Enemies set and you get the Rumhad Skull Eater, Orc Pirate Captain. Really, Furball? Really? Oh! No! No. No, stop. Stop. What's with my... And hello, whoever just joined. Don't be scared about, typing it. Do you mind? Can I actually, do my show without you pestering me? Hmm? I guess that's a no. Go figure. I can't even do that. I start to throw my head back and there's a furball there. So anyway, other projects throughout the week. I've got some commissions that I'm doing. I'm also working on doing base clothing for my new meshes. For those who haven't seen them, basically I've got some brand new, a brand new, where is it? There it is. A brand new base mesh for both the male and female figures. For example, here's the base meshes for the new male figure. As you can see, the anatomy is a lot more accurate. The facial features are more defined, and he doesn't look like a complete cartoon. On the other hand, there's also a female set. Do I have... Okay, I do not have the female figures themselves ready in all the races, at least not a render. But here's a comparison of the old female figure on the left, with the new one on the right. A lot more realistic, actual proper shapes instead of warped tubes. Yeah. And so I'm working on getting some basic clothing done. Like the tunic skirts, jacket, robe bottom half, things like that. And then, of course, tusks and that for the orc morphs. Yes, the female orc is shapely muscle woman. I confess, it's what people want right now. So, yeah. And let's kick this. It's 8:06. I'm wondering where my patron is. Yes. Do you mind? Do you mind? Yeah. Come on. Sorry about that. And apparently still not getting word back from my patron. Okay. So, next plan is once I've finished with my commissions, and once the current Kickstarter's in the can, I'm starting work on figures for genre, science fiction. Now, technically, these figures would be able to be used for almost any science fiction game, or in many cases, even just simply modern games with guns. And welcome back. Oh! 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 Oh my god! Ralph, why did you do that? Oh, that hurt. And hello, Clayton. Ow. That's what happens when a 17-pound cat lands in the worst possible spot. Oh. Anyway, I'm going to be starting work on some Cyberpunk minis. And because, I can just slide the slider, that means there will also be some Shadowrun minis. Oh, that hurt. Why do I get the feeling that little 30-second segment is going to be my most commented on thing ever? Alright, now, just to give you some preview of what's happening tonight. When the patron shows up, I'm going to get some details from him, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going into 3D Studio Max, and I'm going to be making a receptionist desk, whether it's square or curved or what have you. Then we'll determine what race and gender the receptionist will be, and whether he or she is dressed fancy modern clothes or fancy medieval clothes. And then it's sculpting time. I've also got to confess, the first figure I'm going to be sculpting with the new base mesh is going to be figure based on the character I play in D&D currently, Valandar the Red. I mean, I think many of you have seen this figure. Or the character rather. What I basically did was, my character has a few specific details that are unique to him. And, where is it? Buppo. And here is the second sculpt that I had made of him. Male Harburg, tabard over top, a Grossmesser in the right hand that looks like a falcon eagle claw handle, a short sword, now arming sword, in the left hand that looks like a dragon's scales and talons, and then just, kind of loose pants, baggy boots, and a ponytail. But on this particular figure, you can see some of the features that made the old figure kind of... you can see the face just doesn't look as realistic as it could. I got more wrinkles in my sculpts at this point. This was done about 6 months ago, I think. But in general, I could have done a lot more with this than what I did. There's nothing on his belt. He doesn't have any kind of pack. He doesn't look like an adventurer, but like some guy who just threw on a male shirt and picked up a couple of swords. Oh well. We'll be having an update soon on that. Remove. And still no sign of our receptionist. Ba-doom. Ah. No, that wasn't him. Okay, so we're still waiting on our patron. Oh, we have 3 people watching now. Is one of these our patron? Don't be afraid to say something in here. Okay. And the usual like, subscribe, bell icon. As things stand right now, I'm sitting at... Oh, what am I sitting at? I'm sitting at a desk, but... I'm currently sitting with 637 subscribers. 650, 700 might be great. Although, I tend to get about under 50 views on any given video. Partly because these are live, and most people find sculpting miniatures to be just a tad bit boring. Now the thing is, let me check my Discord, see if he's in there. No, and no word in Discord from him. Okay. This coming Tuesday, I likely won't quite make it to have gotten to the next stretch goal in Epic Enemies. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sculpt the Goblin Shaman sidekick to Rumhad Skull Eater. What do I call him? Ishrak Stormcaller or something? No, Storm something. That's like the guy whose character was forever known as Griff Something Slicer, because when he signed his name in the inn registry, the innkeeper was like couldn't read his handwriting. It was like, so it's Griff Something Slicer. Yeah. Now, one thing to watch out for if you start sculpting. It's a problem that I had a significant issue with when I switched to resin printing. Resin printing. I still have to paint these guys, yes. These are the troopers for, yeah. So, anyway, point being, I need to paint these guys. Oh well. But one thing you gotta watch out for is that while surface detail can be a lot finer and still print on an FDM printer, like chainmail, you really want to keep an eye out on the thickness of parts. I hate to say it, the main reason why my swords are still mostly paddle-like, almost reminiscent of Skyrim, is because, well, if I printed this sword on an FDM printer, it would come out decently. It might even come out a little bit smaller than this, actually, because of how some of them handle doing the perimeters. But if I tried a realistically sized Katzbalger, yeah, that's the type of sword this is. It's a Katzbalger. Let me go ahead and zoom in. Let's take camera settings. Yay! There we go. And let's autofocus in so you can get a better look at the sword. As you can see, it has 3 fullers, a whale fluke pommel, and it's got a lot of dust on it, and a dual ring crossguard. Now you see how thick that crossguard is? Same reason as with the blade. Anyway, if I gave him a realistically proportioned Kutzbalger as his primary weapon, the blade would end up looking thinner than a rapier on an FDM print, and very, very, very fragile. So I tend to stick towards thicker construction. I mean, look how thick the handle of this halberd is. Okay. Thick construction, fine detail. Allows you to print in both resin and FDM. I'm pointing down because that's where my CR10 is. Let's see if I've gotten a message from him yet. Skadink. No. Come on, come on. Okay, if he doesn't show in the next... it's already almost 20 after 8. If he doesn't show in the next half hour... No, not half hour. Next 20 minutes at 8:40, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate making some basic clothing types. In the case of what I'm doing now, some of these are going to be explicitly for the Cyberpunk Shadowrun soiree. Others are going to be generic, like I've already got boot shapes that fit around the fact. I don't know if you noticed, the new figures actually have individual toes. With the new figure having toes, I created a boot shape that fits around the foot and blends into the shin, making that a little bit easier. But then it'll be things like, cuff types. Go figure. I also probably will show how I rig clothing. I've got several videos in my library, I guess you could say. Just click on my name, find my library. Woo! Several videos. I've got 213 episodes of this video alone, or this series alone, and I've got several videos where I've made blend shapes for new races for my figure. And each one of them should, I repeat myself, should show how I transfer, how I adjust the rigging to fit the figure, freeze it, and then save the morph. So now I just have one little slider going back and forth. I guess what I could do is go ahead and demonstrate some of what how the sliders work. Let's load in the new male Geo. I've given him a couple materials so I can easily render and Discord won't go nuts. This is the default. I'm going to have one small problem. I really should have this scaled back to about 90% Z because it was a bit too sticky outy. Now, we take the new male figure. We go to races. We go to dwarf. Yeah, his shape changed, but more than that. What you're seeing now are the bones for the mesh. Let's go ahead and, just for the sake of making this easier to see, let's change all the colors here to a light gray. And then when I select the figure, you can see the purple and green and red lines representing that figure. And now as I click on each body part, the bone for that body part highlights, with the green being the point at which it pivots. I mean, you can see that bone pivoting there. And I see a problem I'm going to have to deal with. I forgot about that I kind of ignored. and the red being the end point of the bone. Okay. Now, when I go back in and I go to my morphs, watch what happens to all these bones when I load in the dwarf. Notice that they shrink and change proportion to fit into where it needs to be in proportion to everything else. Okay? Now, I'm going to pop back into here for a second, because I can't let you see what I'm doing, because it involves going into my files and changing some names. But I'm going to show you what happens if I don't do that. Alright. This is base sculpt, morphs. Copy. Go back to base page. Paste. We're going to call this... No, I don't want to load it into that. Rename. Yeah, how about that? Dwarf Alt. Okay, and then we're going to go back into here. And we're going to load in that morph. Okay. Choose morph files. We're going to morphs, base big, dwarf alt. We're going to reverse deformations, yes. Property group, races, delta tolerance, 0, 0, 0, 1. Let's make it a bit more refined. Okay, and done. Now, watch what happens when I send this dwarf alt to 100%. Yeah, the bones all stayed behind. Hey guys, what's going on? So I go back to 0%. Now let's give him a bit of a pose before I do anything else. Content library, poses, basic stand. Okay. Now, we go back to parameters and we do dwarf alt. And what ends up happening, because the bones are moving separately, it doesn't work right. Meanwhile, if I then go back in and do it with a regular dwarf, because the joints are moving with him, I'm still having an issue with the thumbs interpenetrating the thighs, but that's just simply because the dwarf is so thick. But then I do it with the dwarf alt. Now watch what happens here. I'm going to go to that right shoulder again. Stretch like taffy. Okay. That doesn't look good. We take him to the dwarf, and it doesn't look any different from what it does as a human. Anyway, that is why we adjust the rigging to shape. Now, there's an aspect of that's why I've been why it takes so long to make a mesh, and there's hidden morphs, hidden blend shapes. When I look that arm like that, there'll be a hidden blend shape to correct the shape of the arm when you raise it to the height that your shoulder can do. Now, of course, there's this, which is a slightly different position. You're not actually raising your arm up that high. What's happening is you're pivoting your shoulders, and you're leaning your head into your arm. Because if you hold your chest straight, your collar area straight, and reach up as high as you can, straight that way, that's about as high as most people can go. And that's barely a 45-degree angle. And that's if your collarbone doesn't move. Maybe a 10 to 15, but even then, this changes because the deltoid starts tensing. Lowering the arm's not as much of an issue because the arm is starting half lowered. But yeah. So I've got some corrections to make on that. It looks like somebody finally fell asleep. Okay, we get a message from the receptionist guy. No. Okay. Anyway. Let's see if I can pull off a comparison here. That. Okay. This is Greedy Gold from Warpaint, Army Painter. It's actually a lot more orange than this. It's almost bronze. It's almost a pale bronze. That's their Greedy Gold. One thing about it, if you look at it, even in the bottle, you can see the individual flakes of gold. This is the, as you can see here, one coat gold from Warcolor. And you can see it's a lot yellower. I mean, even though the color's been blued thanks to the lights. Let's see. Get this one to, well, you really can't see except right around here is probably the most accurate color. But you can tell it's a lot more gold. You also have an extremely hard time seeing the aluminum flakes. This one you can see them. This one you really can't. This is a much finer gold. And much unlike this, which my particular bottle of this kind of explodes every time I open it up. It just goes... Unlike that, what's this one? Oh, yeah. Gold and bronze compared to gold. I mean, these two are almost the same color when you compare them with this color. It's just wow. Anyway, this one, see that nozzle? Well, find one that's not a one coat. Let's just grab this one. This is a typical Warcolor paint bottle. This is turquoise 4. The higher the number, the darker. That is their normal paint nozzle. This is the nozzle they put on inks and on their one coat line. I sit here, I put a drop of it on my finger and you can see just how thin it is. I hold my finger up and the only thing that's keeping it from just dripping down my finger is surface tension. And apparently the metallic flakes help keep that surface tension. But I mean, I don't know if you can see how easily this is breaking up just by touching it. It's very watery. It's also most unlike either of those golds that I showed you. It's also quite and utterly opaque. Yay, paper towels for getting opaque gold off your fingertips. Alright, let's see if he's responded. No, he has not. Okay. Well, it's 8:33. In 7 minutes, if he doesn't show up, I'm just going to go ahead and make some basic clothing shapes for my new figures. Anyway, I am planning on doing another episode of old school RPG. It's a sister channel. The link is also down below. You know, click on that show more. Ching, links galore and comments and stuff. Yeah, do that. Anyway, I'm just not sure what to do it about. I might put a link in my Discord, which links also in down below. I put a poll in my Discord on what kind of subjects they want to see, if they want to see it. I only have 11 subscribers on that side of the house, and not like the 637 subscribers here. Excuse me. Now, get some soda. No. Okay. One thing that you'll note. The paint. I have yet to make a human figure where I needed more than 2 drops from a dropper bottle from any one color. Holy crap, that's a bright green. Yeah. I also need to kind of rearrange this. What I really need to do is take that second rack and put it up. And then like have it be single rows so I don't have to dig. Because right now this is double rows each one of these. Alright. No comment yet. Alright. Now the clothing items that I'm going to do for the figures, it's going to be for the male figure. I'm going to do 2. One is I'm going to transfer the robe lower half to the new figure, and the other is I'm going to make a pair of baggy pants. Because a lot of figures use baggy pants, and if I can just have those be just something I can load in and then tweak and detail after I fuse them to the main figure, fine by me. After all, unless it's if you know, most characters have a very limited wardrobe comparison. It's the detailing that makes them different, and the pose, and in some cases the hair. Yeah, this hair is definitely different. I need to get it cut. I really need to get my hair cut. Here. Back here tends to stick straight out. Yeah. Oh, it's 8:38. In 2 minutes, if he hasn't shown up, and if I haven't heard from him, it's gonna be clothing time. Skadoosh. Skadoosh. Meanwhile, for those who like snacks, I've been addicted to these. Not because they're simply, but because they're white cheddar. That means instead of having orange Cheeto dust all over my hands, I have white Cheeto dust. Wait. Okay. 1 minute left. Come on, dude. You're about to miss it again. $8.40. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go to the content library, load in the new mail basic geo, and then I'm going to the old basic geo clothing, and I'm going to load in the robe/skirt. Now, I think that's I do think that's too low. If I'm going to have something that's going to hang down to the ground, I'll do that separately. All right. So I'm going to do simply file, export, Robe Bottom, accept, just to show. Yeah. We're going to clicking over to ZBrush, import, meshes, new base figure, new male figure. And that is the geometry of the new male figure. You can see it's got a totally different layout for the geometry than my old one did. You'll also notice that the jaw, the corner of the lip controllers, and the brow are a different color for the point of view of the this thing. That's because it changes. And so we're going to turn that off. We're then going to insert, Polymesh 3D, and then we're going to import no clothes, Robe Bottom. Okay. Now what we're going to do from here, we're going to go under geometry. I'm going to subdivide it a couple times. Delete lower. Move up. And I'm going to go to trim rectangle. Control Shift just above the feet. Then move, make it much bigger than this. I'm going to kind of pull it there, hit X, pull it down, just because of shaping. Now, we're going to make this a bit smaller, and we're going to turn on transparency. We're then going to grab the side here and pull it out so that it goes above the thigh, and then something similar back here for the ankle, and in general the ankle there, and the foot there. Plus I need to kind of pull it up there. Now a little bit in the back. Then I need to hide that arm, so as you can see, the fingers are individual now. We're hiding them all. Okay, we're going back to the robe, frame it so we can get up close. And now we're going to shrink this quite a bit. We're going to grab the center and pull it up and in quite a bit. I'm going to pull the back out and then kind of pull it in because we want to blend in. We don't want to fade in. And then here, as you can see, the center appears to go inside the belly. We don't want that. By the same token, we want it able to smooth in, so we're going to grab this section and move it inside the body. Because we want this to blend into the torso so that we don't have to do it when it comes time. It'll already be poked through. Turn off transparency. Frame. Okay. And make that arm visible again. Now we're going to turn that on. You'll notice that it's got kind of messed up geometry groups. Because it's, well, yeah. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead, go to polygroup, and we're going to auto group to make it one big group. Now under geometry, we're going to ZBrush. Yes, Z. Well, first of all, because it did that when I chopped it, we're going to subdivide it a couple times. Delete lower. Dynamesh 512. Okay. 169,000 polygons. We zoom in and we can see that they are in fact even, in roughly average even in size. Frame out. Now we go to ZBrush. We're going to bring the adaptive size up, change it to half, and turn off adapt. So 169,000 polygons. We hit ZBrush. Let's see how long it takes. You watch the orange bar up there. $72,000. All right, that's still far too much for what we need. So we're going to hit ZBrush again. Bling. $27,000. Okay, now we're going to turn the adaptive size back to 50. And we're going to click it again. Bing. 10,000. 4,500. 2,118. Still too much. ZBrush. There we go. 978. That should do it. Now we turn that off and we zoom out. We see a couple places we'd still need to go ahead and remove because after we simplified it that much, it kind of met there. And okay, so the back of the butt. There. Now, we export this as Robe Bottom. Yes, we want to replace it. And then we go back in here. File. Import. Robe Bottom. Accept. We go back up to Mr. Geo and male clothing just so that we can save this properly. Now what we're going to do, there's a little circle pointing, basically it's a circle that's filled pointing up to a circle that's empty. Click on that, select an item, new male figure. Crap. Let's remove the old Robe Bottom. There we go. Because until we did that, we couldn't tell which was which in this drop down. New male figure to Robe Bottom. Accept. Okay, now this is going to be the tricky part. Robe Bottom, we're going to expand from selected. Although we're going to close up the abdomen. And now we're going to tool settings, and I've clicked that. So we're going to go with the right thigh under X rotation. Smooth, we're going to inner radius of 25, outer radius of 50, and we're going to just kind of bring it down to smooth the center there, and there. We're going to swap over and it's just as blurred, but now we're going to go down to the shin and we're going to blur it down this way, and then in the front this way. Now the foot needs a little bit here and a little bit back here. Also, we're going to smooth that. Now the left foot, like I said, we're going to smooth that. Just smooth this in here a little bit. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, go back to here. We're going to close the robe. Actually, no, we need to do one more thing. I'm thinking about it. X rotate. Oh no. Ah. There we go. Weight editing. Copy weight maps. No. Copy selected. There we go. That's it. Paste selected. Paste selected. Paste selected. Okay, and what we're going to do now, we're going to close up the robe bottom. We're going to go back and we're going to start with the right thigh bending that way. Okay, we're going to need to do a little bit more blending on the front. So we go back to our thigh. And we're going to blend up in here. Well, first let me go to tool settings, X rotation, and blend that a little. It does not matter if it gets partially poked through because that can be fixed at ZBrush. Then we're going to go with the right shin. We're not going to affect these maps at all. Bend to there. And it's looking pretty good. So yeah, that's basically all we need to do. Let's go ahead and zero out both the shin and thigh. And let's look at the right thigh and then the left thigh. The left thigh under X rotation still needs a little bit of blur up here. Yeah, there we go. And so it's pretty much mostly nicely rigged. So what we're going to do is we're going back to this Robe Bottom. I'm going to open up the content library just so you can see what happens. We're going to zoom in on the Robe Bottom. We're going to File, Save As, Support Asset, Figure, Props, and Assets, and that's going to be Robe Bottom. Now this gives you what directory you want to put it into, which I'm saving this to my D drive because that's where my library is. Vendor name Valendar. That's the name I go under both at work and here. Product name, exclamation point, miniatures. All of my miniature sculpting based stuff is in that subdirectory. Item name, Robe Bottom. accept. Yep. And there, it just added in this brand new Robe Bottom. I've got tunic skirt and Robe Bottom. And do we have, oh, shite. Checking to see if we have word from him back. Swing. No. No word back from him yet. So, back into ZBrush we go. And what we're going to do here, we're going to delete the Robe Bottom. And we're going to start with him. And just for the sake of having a place to work towards, I'm going to put the boot cups that I made earlier today on his, load them in. Now here on him, we're going to subdivide to 3, delete lower. The newer geometry is a significantly higher poly count than the old. Then we're going to Dynamesh it. 1024 Dynamesh. Brings us to 900,000. Then we're going to make sure that we've got the legs straight. We're going to hit X so that whatever we select will be selected on both sides. And then just take a Control, and then we're going to select all the way from the crotch down to the top of the and I'm going to Control negative mask, let's remove there. Okay. Now we go back to Subtool and Extract. I'm sure a lot of you know what's coming next for the actual shaping. And we're going to extract here. Accept. Select the actual model and deselect to get rid of the... Now, geometry, we're going to Dynamesh at 256. Oh, no we're not, because that caused a link between those two parts. So we're going to 368. Yeah, that's good. Undo it. Now we're going to zoom in, and we're going to make the mouse a lot bigger. I'm just going to smooth. Okay, and then we're going to do it in the back. Same thing. Oh wait, no, I'm gonna smooth, not move. Now we're gonna shrink the mouse again, and we're gonna give it just a very careful overall trying to remove the edge there from where we smoothed before. I'm going to definitely try to smooth this into the leg a little bit deeper. Frame out. Much bigger. Then we're going to divide it a couple times because we actually want to deal with a high poly count for what we're about to do. I'm going to switch to the clay buildup tool, open this up, go to auto masking, and turn on backface mask. We're also going to go ahead and smooth that just a little. We're then going to go ahead, get my drawing tablet. Where'd it go? Here it is. My Wacom. And go ahead. Oh, I forgot to change the mask to the round blurry one because I prefer to use this tool to build up volume if I can, because if I have to, I can use it to build up volume on areas that have detail without losing the detail. Now this can be used, these trousers I'm making right now could be used to represent, you know, I can build these into cargo pants, I can build them into pirate pants, or otherwise fancy baggy pants. Any kind of basic baggy shape. And I'm also going to go ahead and hide those. Now the thing is, I now need to frame on them, zoom out, shrink down, and I need to polish these areas. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, make these visible again just so I can see what I need to do. Oh, let's turn on size by brush. And I'm going to inflate, drop it down to like 4. 5 will do. Make it a good bit bigger. Just very gently start inflating the areas until they meet and slightly overlap the cuffs that I had made earlier. There we go. Frame out. That is the basic shaping that we need, but there's a reason why we are now at 727,000 points and not 70,000. We're going to go ahead and we're going to add on our wrinkles. We're going to start off with adding them. The first thing that's going to happen is we're going to turn on transparency so I can see where the knee is. Now transparency, what's going to happen is we're going to bring this down back a bit. No, because I did it too hard. Okay, and then we're kind of do like little V-shaped areas. And we're going to kind of bring these down like that. Now we're going to go to see sub, we're going to increase that to about there. And we're going to do things like this kind of too hard. Frame out, turn off that, and there we have our very basic baggy pants. Now, once again, there are 727,000 polygons. So we're going to zoom out, make the boot cuffs visible just for the sake of making them visible. And we're now going back down to geometry. We are not dynameshing them. We are Z-remeshing them. We're going to start off as we did before. One try at half, 100% adaptive size. Z-remesh. Let's see how long it takes. we can deal with having a higher poly count on these, because the problem with the Robe Bottom was the seam between the legs. We wanted that as low poly as possible to smooth it out. Okay, we now have 255,000. When we turn on this to see the poly groups, you can see it's kind of flowing somewhat along these edges. So we're going to do it again, sticking with the 100% adaptive size. As you can see, it's going to be a lot faster since it has less than half to work with. I should also note that since I have X symmetry active, I'd hit the X button, that the polygon pattern is also the same. Alright, we're down to 109. We're going to do it again. I think we can get away with about 20,000 polygons. That's about what we're shooting for. That'll keep the basic shape that we've got here, while making them loose enough to bend well in Daz Studio. And enable us to... Ooh, that's not good. That doesn't look good. This is the point where we turn adaptive size back to 50. Okay. This should also get us lower in one jump. Hopefully it won't have those distortions there at the knee. And it didn't. But it also only dropped us to 46. Let's turn off half. Target polygon count 12. Z-remesher. There we go. That's almost exactly 20,000 polygons. It keeps the basic shape, and it lets us, if we need to, when we load it in, smooth it out and fit it better to the existing character, or to make some of the details slightly different. So, we're going to subtool, make sure it's selected. We're going to export baggy pants. And then we're going to load up ZBrush. We're going to delete the Robe Bottom. Select a new male figure, file, import, baggy pants, accept. And then just as before, what we're going to do is we're going to use this symbol, select an item, new male figure on the left, scene item, baggy pants on the right, accept. Just to kind of show off what's happening here, let's go ahead and go to the right thigh, and we're going to select X rotation. As you can see, it's got a smooth blend there. Now, when I select the calf and bend it, okay, it's not quite enough. So what we're going to do is, really and truly, the thighs are, sorry, the shins are about the only thing we're going to have to worry about here. Alright, so we're going to smooth out this back area. We want to have to do as little work as possible when it comes sculpting time, because that way we'll be able to do more. Alright, we're going to go ahead and unbend it just so we can see what we're doing a little bit better. Also, because we now need to go back and make this affect a larger area by zooming out. Okay, now let's also make it a much more intense blend, because we kind of really need to do that. Now we're going to just blend this on X for as long as we can. Also going to make sure to get on the inside of this knee. The front of the knee doesn't need it because the knee doesn't bend forward. Alright, now let's see what happens when we bend the right shin Okay, what we're getting there. Let's click here. I'm going to undo this just a little bit. Yeah. Let's zoom in and undo some of this just to pull it out. Alright, go back to tool settings. We're going to switch to there. Now switch here. Oh, don't do this to me. Yeah, it did it to me. You can't see what happened, I don't think. But I have lost my... Yep. This happens from time to time. I'm going to go ahead and unpose this. 0. I'm then going to save the baggy pants. Save as support asset, figure prop assets. Baggy pants. For the sake of having it... What happened was I lost my brush. And now it's back. Go to our shin. There we go. Now let's go to that shin and bend it 50. Go back to this shin and smooth that right there. Too bad I can't just use the tool from ZBrush that hit number 1 to do it repeated. But we get that, and then let's get this right here a bit smoother. And I cannot use a Wacom on here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and unbend the R shin. And now I gotta do the same thing to the left shin. As you can see, it's not symmetrical. So the first thing we do is we go ahead and smooth the whole daggone thing as much as we can in one go. And again, since we don't have to worry about making morphs for it because there's no bend forward, we can just solve it all with the weight maps. Okay, come on, we need to fix this area right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add, and then we're going to blend it again. Make sure we get this blended up, and then a little bit up in here. And then I can blend it here. And then make sure we've got this area is done again. In case you're wondering how I'm removing the weight assignment, if you hold down Alt, it very carefully unrigs some of these unrigs some of those areas. Okay. And just a little bit more in here. Now, once again, let's go ahead and show a tighter bit. Eventually get to a point where even the weight map won't help because you're bending beyond a certain point. Alright. 0. Now, we select our baggy pants and we're going to resave them because we have changed the weight map. File. Save as support asset, figure prop assets, baggy pants. Yes. Accept. Now when we go to that content library for the male clothing, there's 5 different items there. There's the baggy pants, there's the boot cuffs, there's boot tips, because they help, cover up those toes. And then we're going to put on a tunic skirt. We can then select our buddy, put him poses, or put him into a basic stand pose. Now obviously this puts his hands into his thighs, but we can fix that. So yeah, we have our basic geometry clothing ready. Hey Mark. My patron didn't show. So I was going through on how I basically make clothing, and I was showing off a little bit of the new figure. Hello. It's a little late, Evan. I have to leave in half an hour. One of the kitties is right here. The other 2 are sound asleep on my bed in the room. Evan, I need you active in the chat while we're doing this so that you can answer any question I might have about the sculpt. I can't do it if you're not here with me. Gotcha. Yeah, see, I need the patron in the sculpt because I need just an idea. I can't be sure that I'm doing what you're wanting me to do. Yes. Gee, you think he's gonna, yeah, rape himself? Really? Did you really have to do this? You also missed it, Mark. You might want to, after it's had a chance to process in YouTube, go back, I think about 20 minutes in. This one decided to jump from the bed, bam, into the worst part of the lap. Just a straight up hop slam. So, is there a reason? As we all know, cats don't know how to show affection. Do you? Do you know how to show affection, Furball? I take that as a yes. Now watch this. Yes. Oh, come on, you did it earlier. Come on. He's no, comfy on the shoulder. Nar, matey. What do you know? Yeah, I know it's supposed to be a parrot, but oh well. I guess this is what a warlock pirate has on his shoulder instead of a parrot. Is that what a warlock pirate has? Is it? Okay, I need to take you off my shoulder now. Okay. I need to take you off my shoulder now. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. Anyway. Evan, do you think you'll be able to make it at 1 next week? Because I have the next 2 weeks of 8 p.m. shows booked up. You couldn't hear that. He meowed. That's how quiet he is. Come on. Good boy. Gotcha. Well, like I said, next week and the week after are booked. After that, the only other thing coming is November 5th, the weekend of November 15. That weekend's a con. So I'll be booked for that because I won't be doing anything. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that. I think I wasn't clear that I kind of need the person to constantly ask. While I've got you here, my first thought was the desk in front of him, a curved desk or just a basic, big flat straight hotel podium type thing, hotel desk. That's the first thing I'd have to sculpt. Yeah. So there's like a little kind of 1/3 of a curve. It'd be a bit easier to get onto a smaller base. Like a 50 millimeter base, basically the same size as the bases that my Minotaurs are on. I could do that here with him standing there. The desk here with him standing here. Okay, the square desk. Okay, that's probably going to take a 75 millimeter base, which is this size. I wouldn't say it's better, I'd say it's easier to fit on a smaller base. Now, if we were using the old style square bases like old Warhammer Fantasy Battle, then yeah, the square base would actually be much better. Okay. Just to let you know the idea I have for the desk, it's going to be a curve. There's going to be a book on the desk open with a pot of ink next to it to represent the, who's in what room, or who's going to what chamber of unutterable horror, traps, death, and monsters. Who was signed in and who signed the guest book. Yeah. And of course, one of his hands will probably hold a quill. Either that or there'll be a quill standing next to on the other side of the book from the ink. Anyway, it's almost 9:30 here. I am still having to go help take care of my brother and his wife. So I'm probably going to have to go ahead and call it now. So I'm going to be sticking my hand up here, trying not to hiccup, and counting from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I make a little weeky. Well, actually, when I get to 1, I say something kind of goofy, pithy, or wise, or deep, and then go, and when I go, and I can see on the screen that means I've caught up to the built-in lag on Yahoo. So, at that point, that's when I stop the stream. So, good night, everyone. And that's going to be a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. My mother actually worked in the hotel industry for most of her working life. She worked behind a desk at some hotels, and then she worked in the reservation center for both Holiday Inns and Promise at 2 different points in her life, obviously. So, that's it.